Ladies and gentlemen, let me tell you something. One of the hardest things you'll ever do in life is work on yourself. I'm not talking about getting a haircut or dressing sharp. I mean the real work, the kind of work that don't show up on Instagram. The kind of work that keeps you up at night asking yourself, is this the life I'm supposed to be living? See, real self-work ain't pretty. It's not always inspirational quotes and playlists. Sometimes it's looking in the mirror and realizing you're the one holding you back. Start with complete honesty about where you are and what's not working. That's the foundation of every real transformation. Most people skip this step. They jump straight to goals, affirmations, and vision boards without ever facing the truth. But the truth is, if you lie to yourself, you'll stay stuck in the same cycle, no matter how many motivational videos you watch or how many books you read. Honesty is uncomfortable. It makes you squirm. It makes you confront the parts of your life that you've been trying to ignore for years. But that discomfort is where the work begins. You have to be willing to sit down with yourself, no distractions, and ask the hard questions. What habits are destroying your progress? What choices are keeping you broke, tired, uninspired? What toxic relationships are draining your energy? And maybe most importantly, what lies have you been telling yourself just to get through the day? You can't fix what you won't face. You can't change what you keep pretending is fine. Real self-improvement starts when you stop blaming everything and everyone else for your situation and start owning your part in it. That's not about guilt, it's about power. Because the moment you say, this is on me, is the moment you take control back. You stop being a victim of circumstance and become the architect of your future. But none of that happens if you're not brutally honest about where you're starting from. People want to be successful, but they don't want to admit they're lazy. They want to be confident, but they don't want to admit they're insecure. They want love, but they don't want to admit they're emotionally unavailable. See, our version of your best self begins with a version of you who had the courage to admit they weren't there yet. That kind of honesty doesn't come easy. It takes courage to look at your reflection and say, this ain't who I'm supposed to be. It takes strength to admit that you've let yourself down. But what people don't understand is that admitting your flaws is not weakness. It's strength. It's the first brick in building something better. When you lie to yourself, you delay your healing. You prolong your pain. You cover a bullet wound with a Band-Aid and then wonder why it keeps bleeding. Honesty tears off the Band-Aid. It exposes the wound so it can heal for real. And sometimes honesty means realizing you've been holding on to dreams that don't even belong to you. Maybe you've been chasing a career because it sounds impressive, not because it fulfills you. Maybe you've been pretending to be someone you're not just to fit in. Maybe your whole life has been built around proving something to someone who doesn't even care. That's the kind of honesty that breaks you down, but only so you can build yourself back up, this time with intention. Self-work isn't about pretending you have it all together. It's about being real enough to say, I'm not okay, but I want to be better. It's about identifying the behaviors that are keeping you small and replacing them with habits that make you grow. Once you've been honest with yourself, everything changes. You stop chasing shortcuts. You stop wasting time on distractions. You get clear, you get focused. You stop waiting for the perfect time and you start with the truth. And the truth might hurt, but it will also set you free. Free to evolve, free to improve, free to become the version of yourself that's been buried under years of denial, excuses, and fear. But none of that freedom comes until you face the facts, until you look at your life and say, this is not working, and I'm not going to pretend anymore. Because pretending is easy. Growth is hard. But only one of them will change your life. Commit to self-discipline even when no one is watching. That's the real test of growth. Anybody can act like they're grinding when there's applause, validation, or some form of recognition involved. But the real winners are made in silence, in moments when no one's clapping, no one's noticing, and no one even knows what you're up to. Self-discipline means doing what's right, what's necessary, and what moves you forward, even when you're tired, unmotivated, and tempted to give up. It's the power to show up for yourself without needing external pressure. Because the truth is, if you only work when someone's watching, you're not building character, you're building a performance. Discipline is not about hype. It's not about emotion. It's about decisions repeated daily, regardless of how you feel. Success is never the result of one big moment. It's always the result of consistent effort. And consistency is only possible through discipline. People think motivation is the key, but motivation is unpredictable. It comes and goes. It depends on mood, energy, even weather sometimes. But discipline is a decision. You don't wait for it. You choose it. When you decide to be disciplined, you start controlling your actions instead of letting your emotions control you. You stop needing someone to push you because you become your own driver. You develop the muscle of self-command, and like any muscle, it grows through repetition and resistance. The more you push against laziness, distraction, and excuses, the stronger your willpower becomes. Self-discipline is waking up when the alarm goes off, not when you feel like it. It's choosing the healthier meal, the longer route, the tougher challenge. It's writing that page, taking that step, finishing that workout, especially on the days you don't want to. That's when it matters most, because those little wins stack up. And while it may not look like much in the beginning, those daily acts of discipline create momentum. They create confidence. They prove to you that you are capable of honoring your word, that your goals matter more than your comfort. And once you start building that internal respect, everything else changes. You stop quitting. You stop negotiating with laziness. You stop breaking promises to yourself. There's power in showing up consistently, not because someone told you to, but because you told yourself to. Because your vision is too important to ignore. Because you've been to the bottom and you're not going back. Because the version of you that you're trying to become requires a higher standard. And that standard must be enforced daily through discipline. Nobody else is going to hand it to you. Nobody is coming to save you. And that's not a sad truth. That's an empowering one, because it means you have the ability to shift your reality. But that shift starts with your habits. It starts with what you do in private, in your room, at your desk, in the gym, on those early mornings, during those late nights, when you're reading, learning, grinding. That's where greatness is built. It's built when you say no to the easy route and yes to the hard path that leads to growth. Self-discipline won't always feel good. Sometimes it'll feel like punishment. But in time, you'll realize it was the highest form of self-love. Because when you discipline yourself, you give your future self options. You give your dreams structure. You give your goals protection. And that kind of freedom only comes through structure. The world rewards people who can lead themselves, who can manage their impulses, who don't wait to feel right to do right. That's the kind of person who doesn't just talk about change, they become the change. And the secret to that transformation is simple. Commit to self-discipline, especially when no one's watching, especially when no one will ever know you did it. Because at the end of the day, the person you become in private is the person the world will eventually see in public. Surround yourself with people who elevate your thinking and challenge your comfort. The company you keep has the power to shape your beliefs, influence your decisions, and ultimately determine your direction in life. If you spend your time around people who complain, settle, and avoid growth, that energy is going to rub off on you. It doesn't matter how motivated you are. If the people closest to you live small, think small, and dream small, you will eventually shrink to match their level. Growth doesn't happen in a vacuum. It requires an environment that pushes you to reach higher, do better, and think deeper. That's why you need people around you who don't let you get comfortable being average. People who don't flatter your excuses, but instead confront your potential. The kind of people who don't just tell you what you want to hear, they tell you what you need to hear. We all crave comfort, but comfort is the enemy of progress. And the wrong crowd will keep you comfortable, even if that means watching you waste your life. But the right people won't let you stay stuck. They'll call you out when you slack. They'll challenge your mindset when you start thinking small. They'll remind you who you said you wanted to become when you start slipping. It might not always feel good, but it will always serve your growth, because growth lives in tension. It lives in uncomfortable conversations, honest feedback, and the kind of relationships that demand more from you. That's why you must be intentional about who you give your energy to. Not everyone deserves a front row seat to your life. Not everyone deserves access to your vision. Start evaluating your circle. Do the people around you speak life or drain your spirit? Do they bring clarity or confusion? Are they growing, learning, evolving, or are they stuck in the same cycles they were in 5 years ago? Look, it's not about being better than anybody. It's about being around people who are better for you. People who inspire you just by how they live. People who don't need to preach to you because their actions speak louder than their words. People who've been where you want to go and are willing to reach back and pull you forward. Mentors, role models, friends with purpose. Those are the people you need in your corner. And it's not just about cutting off toxic people. It's also about making room for growth partners. People who push you to think critically, challenge your worldview, and expand your mindset. You'll know you're around the right people when your goals start getting bigger, your excuses start getting smaller, and your habits start getting sharper. You'll know you're in the right space when conversations leave you energized, not drained. When being around someone makes you want to go read, write, train, pray, or take that risk you've been putting off. That's the power of the right circle. They won't let you settle. They won't let you hide. They won't let you give up on yourself. Sometimes choosing growth means outgrowing people. And that's hard, especially when they've been in your life a long time. But not everyone who started with you is meant to finish with you. Some people are assignments for a season, not for a lifetime. You can love them, pray for them, and wish them well from a distance, because your future deserves protection. Your dreams deserve a tribe that fuels them, not friends that suffocate them. It's not selfish to protect your peace. It's necessary. And as you elevate your circle, you'll notice that your energy shifts, your standards rise, and your purpose becomes clearer. Because you were never meant to do this journey alone. You were meant to walk with people who see you, challenge you, and believe in you even when you're still figuring it out for yourself. Embrace failure as part of the growth process, not the end. One of the greatest lies we've been taught is that failure is something to fear, something to avoid at all costs. But the truth is, failure is one of life's greatest teachers. It shows up not to break you, but to build you. Every setback holds a lesson. Every rejection carries redirection. Every fall forces you to rise with a little more wisdom, strength, and clarity than before. The people who grow the most aren't the ones who avoid failure. They're the ones who run into it, learn from it, and keep going in spite of it. When you shift your mindset and stop treating failure as final, you unlock a new level of power within yourself. You stop hesitating. You stop doubting. You stop playing small, because you realize that even if you mess up, you're still moving forward. Growth requires risk, and risk carries the possibility of failure. But if you avoid risk, you avoid growth. If you're always trying to play it safe, stay comfortable, and do everything perfectly, you're robbing yourself of your potential. The greatest transformations in life usually come after the greatest disappointments. You don't find out what you're truly made of until life knocks you down and you have to choose whether you're going to stay down or stand back up. Failure introduces you to your real self. It strips away the image, the ego, the excuses. It humbles you. It refines you. It shows you where you still need to grow, where you lack preparation, where your mindset still needs work. It's painful, yes, but it's necessary. When you look at successful people, what you're really seeing is a highlight reel of their resilience. Behind every win is a list of losses, rejections, missteps, and moments of doubt. But they didn't quit. They didn't let one failure define them. They understood that failure isn't something to be ashamed of. It's something to study. You analyze what went wrong. You ask better questions. You develop better strategies. You sharpen your approach. And you try again, this time with experience on your side. That's how growth works. It's not a straight line. It's a cycle of trying, failing, learning, and evolving. Failure also teaches you patience. In a world that's obsessed with instant results and overnight success, failure slows you down and forces you to trust the process. It reminds you that meaningful change doesn't happen overnight. That sometimes the lesson you needed wasn't in the win, but in the waiting. Failure stretches you. It builds character. It makes the eventual success that much more meaningful because you know how hard you had to fight to get there. It reminds you that perseverance is more powerful than perfection. That showing up again and again, even after falling, is what separates the ones who dream from the ones who do. There will be times when failure makes you question everything, when it shakes your confidence, rattles your faith, and tempts you to walk away. But that's where the breakthrough begins. If you can keep showing up in the face of failure, you become unstoppable. You develop grit, focus, humility, and perspective. And those qualities don't just help you succeed, they help you handle success when it finally comes, because you earned it. You didn't get there through shortcuts. You got there by falling flat on your face and choosing to get back up again and again. Failure is not your enemy. Fear of failure is, because fear keeps you stuck. Fear keeps you from even trying. But once you understand that failure is feedback, not defeat, you stop fearing it, you start embracing it. And when you embrace failure, you give yourself permission to dream bigger, risk more, and become who you were truly meant to be. Focus on your own lane. Stop comparing your journey to someone else's. One of the biggest traps in personal growth is constantly measuring your progress against what someone else is doing. It's so easy in today's world where social media puts everyone's highlight reel on display to look at someone else's success, lifestyle, or achievements and start feeling like you're behind. But the truth is, comparison is a thief. It steals your joy, your focus, your peace, and your drive. It distracts you from your path by making you believe that someone else's chapter 10 means your chapter 2 isn't good enough. But their timing isn't your timing. Their struggles aren't your struggles. Their purpose isn't your purpose. You were not created to live someone else's life. You were created to walk your own journey at your own pace with your own unique steps along the way. When you constantly compare yourself to others, you lose sight of what actually matters. You stop appreciating how far you've come because you're too busy obsessing over where someone else is. You start making decisions based on envy, not purpose. You chase validation instead of authenticity. You try to compete with people who aren't even aware there's a competition going on. And in the process, you exhaust yourself. That exhaustion doesn't come from hard work. It comes from trying to beat something you're not. It comes from trying to match a path that was never meant for you in the first place. Every person has a different calling, a different background, a different set of strengths and challenges. You don't know what they've sacrificed, what they've suffered, or what they're still secretly struggling with. You're only seeing the outside, not the full story. And every time you compare, you're comparing your behind the scenes to someone else's best moments. Staying in your lane means accepting your pace. It means recognizing that your timing is not late just because it's not fast. It means trusting that the path you're on has value even if no one else notices it yet. Some people will reach certain goals quicker, and that's okay. It doesn't mean they're better than you. It means their race is different. Just like a marathon is different from a sprint, some lives are meant to develop slowly with deep roots, while others grow quickly with fast branches. Neither is wrong, they're just different. And the moment you understand that, you free yourself from pressure that was never yours to carry. The energy you spend looking sideways could be used to build forward. You could be refining your craft, learning your lessons, healing your wounds, and developing the kind of character that lasts longer than temporary applause. But that only happens when your focus is inward, not outward. When your only competition is who you were yesterday, not who someone else is today, you become more grounded. You become more intentional. You start celebrating your own growth, no matter how slow it seems. You begin to see your own progress not through the lens of comparison, but through the lens of alignment. Are you becoming who you're meant to be? Are you living by your values? Are you moving in purpose, even if that movement feels small? You can't truly grow when you're always distracted. You can't build confidence when you're always comparing. True confidence comes from knowing your worth, your path, your lane, and staying committed to it even when no one else claps for you. It's not about winning faster than others. It's about staying true to yourself through the journey. Because when you finally arrive where you're meant to be, you won't need to compare. You'll know that you got there by walking in truth, with your head held high, your soul intact, and your focus exactly where it needed to be. Feed your spirit daily with prayer, gratitude, and positive direction. In a world that constantly demands more of your time, energy, and attention, it's easy to forget that your inner world needs care just as much, if not more, than your outer one. We live in a time where hustle is glorified, where productivity is praised, and where busy has become a badge of honor. But no matter how fast you move or how much you accomplish, if your soul is running on empty, you will eventually crash. Your spirit is the core to your being. It holds your purpose, your peace, your resilience, and your identity. And if you're not feeding it consistently, it becomes weak, reactive, confused, and vulnerable to the noise of the world. That's why it's not optional. It's necessary to nurture your spirit every single day, even if it's only for a few quiet moments before the chaos begins. Prayer is not just about asking for things. It's about connecting. It's about grounding yourself in something higher, something deeper than your current circumstances. It's where you realign your thoughts, surrender your worries, and gain strength for the day ahead. When you start your day in prayer, you're not just going through a routine. You're building a foundation. You're setting the tone for how you want to show up in the world. You're reminding yourself that you are not alone, that your life has meaning beyond the surface, and that you are guided even when the path seems unclear. Consistent prayer cultivates clarity, patience, humility, and hope. It softens your heart and sharpens your mind. It's not weakness, it's wisdom. It's not passivity, it's power. Gratitude is the second fuel your spirit needs. When you practice gratitude, you shift your focus from lack to abundance, from complaint to contentment. It's not about ignoring your struggles. It's about refusing to let them blind you to your blessings. Gratitude rewires your mindset. It keeps you from becoming bitter. It helps you see the beauty in the little things. A smile, a breath, a chance to begin again. Doesn't mean you settle or stop growing. It means you honor the progress, the lessons, the grace along the way. And when you practice gratitude daily, you start to find joy even in the process, not just the outcome. That joy becomes your strength. That mindset becomes your foundation. It reminds you that every day is a gift, no matter how difficult it may be. Positive direction is the third daily discipline your spirit needs. It means feeding your mind and heart with things that uplift, encourage, and empower. That could be reading something inspiring, listening to a sermon, writing in a journal, speaking affirmations over yourself, or surrounding yourself with people who speak life into you. Every day you are being influenced by news, by conversations, by media, by your own self-talk. If you're not intentional about what you're feeding your spirit, the world will feed it for you, and most of the time it won't be nutritious. You need to make time for messages that remind you of who you are, what you're capable of, and where you're headed. Not every day will feel good. Not every day will go according to plan. But if your spirit is strong, you will be able to handle the storms without breaking apart. You will still get discouraged, but you won't stay there. You'll feel fear, but you'll move anyway. You'll have doubts, but you won't quit. When your spirit is full, you walk different, you speak different, you see different. You become less reactive and more intentional. You don't need to prove yourself because you know your value. You stop chasing things that don't align with your purpose. You start making decisions from a place of strength instead of insecurity. You start recognizing the difference between noise and guidance, between pressure and purpose, between movement and meaning. Feeding your spirit daily is not about being religious. It's about being rooted. It's about showing up for yourself on the inside so that everything you do on the outside has a solid, unshakable foundation.